You're listening to 50 Pirates in 50 Days on the Sports Objective Podcast. A new era of East Carolina football is here and will begin on August 31st when Mike Houston leads the Pirates into action at NC State. Between now and then, join us for a daily trip down memory lane as we experience Pirate football through the words of the men who made those memorable moments happen. Here's your host, Bubba Rosenbaum.
Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast as we continue on with our 50 Pirates in 50 days. We've already caught up with one deep snapper, Brandon Howard from 2001 to 2004. He played for the Pirates, and now we're very excited to catch up with a guy who filled his shoes in 2005 and played for the Pirates starting all 4 years through 2008. Wilson Raynor. Wilson, welcome into the show.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time. Looking forward to catching up about your time in the purple and gold. And let's just start off. I know playing for East Carolina was something you always wanted to do, very much so. And I know coming out of high school, you actually attended Hargrave Military before coming to ECU. So talk a little bit about your recruitment and your background and your love for the Pirates.
Yeah, I grew up a Pirate football fan, and led the purple and gold, and coming through the high school ranks wasn't quite. I knew I could deep snap. I had some smaller offers to play other positions, and I had opportunity to go to Hargrave, and with Brandon, as you just talked about, was here, and he was going to be a senior, and I thought it was going to be a better opportunity for me if I kind of delayed my college career a year, which you can do then and you can't do now. So it was kind of like an extra redshirt year in case I needed it. So it was good to go there. But, man, when you go to Hargrave, there's so many good players there. It kind of opens the door recruiting-wise. And I can, my recruitment kind of exploded, and I guess as big as the long snappers recruitment can be. But so I had some other looks, and it was fun, but I always knew I was going to go to East Carolina.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Am I remembering correctly, Wilson, did Hargrave play against East Carolina's JV team that John Thompson had in 04?
Yeah, I was on that team, and that was a lot of fun. We came. Coach Prutney, who was our interim DC at ECU last year, took the head coaching job at Hampton. He was our head coach, and it was like everybody knew I was committed to East Carolina and et cetera, and so like it was this big thing for me. I had a ton of friends here, so we get on the bus at Hargrave, and that was like the only time at Hargrave you could ever rest was on the bus, and we start driving, and Coach Prutney comes back and shakes me, and I'm asleep on the back of a bus, and he starts like getting at me, cussing me out, and wondering what the heck am I doing, and I'm like, I'm riding the bus. And he said, well, daggone it, we're going to Greenville, South Carolina. You didn't tell us to go to Greenville, North Carolina. And I'm like, I have no idea how this is my fault, so yeah, we got there about 10 o'clock that night, and we were supposed to eat Parker's barbecue and do all this. So I was pissed, needless to say. I couldn't hang out with my friends and do none of that.
Are you telling me in 2004 there are still people that think East Carolina's in Greenville, South Carolina?
Look, this bus driver, man.
I thought you were joking.
No, this is 100%.
Oh my gosh.
We got to Charlotte, I think, area before the coaches realized, wait, where the heck are we going?
Yeah, Hargrave is in Virginia, right?
Yeah,
it's Chatham, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Gee,
we were all
unbelievable.
pissed at that bus driver, but I was really pissed at the bus driver because he kept me away from some friends that I hadn't seen in 2 or 3 months, and
namely barbecue.
Yeah, and barbecue we had lined up. We ended up eating like some KFC or something. It was not the trip I had planned. My first trip to Greenville, so
that's unreal. Yeah, when you said that, I honestly, when you said Coach Prunty shook you, I thought he was messing with you about and just giving you a tough time. I didn't know.
No, he was mad at me.
Oh my gosh.
He was mad at me, man. I mean, it was my fault we were late to Greenville, North Carolina. So
you say Coach Prunty? Why didn't you know the way to Greenville?
Oh, hey.
Oh, I'm picking, but that's quite a story. So you were coming in as Coach Holtz was coming in, and we talked about your recruitment some, and I want to say, didn't you say that Maryland offered you pretty late in the game? That was, of course, back when they were still in the ACC, before they made the move to the Big Ten. Was that right?
Yeah, they actually came in and offered me, and it was around Christmas, and I was an invited walk-on at East Carolina. I knew I could earn my scholarship once I proved myself, or once I wanted to start a job. But when they came in and offered a scholarship, that was kind of hard to. And a couple other teams did, but they were really on me pretty hard. And luckily, my family and my parents worked hard to put me in school, and my dad and mom both kind of said, look, if you want to go play at East Carolina, we understand and we'll support you. So that's what they did. And the coach that was recruiting me was kind of shocked that I turned him down to walk on at East Carolina. But that ended up biting me later on when he was the special teams coordinator with the Colts. But that's a whole other story. But anyway, it worked out, and I got to live a dream of mine. So it was well worth it.
Yeah, that's why that really stuck with me, Wilson, just because, like you're saying, that coach, his mind was just boggled when you said that you wanted to go to East Carolina to walk on.
Yeah, and I actually crossed paths with him again. I was snapping for Matt Dodge during his workouts and stuff one day, and he was working out for the Colts at the practice field at ECU. And the coach was, hey, man, you did a great job today, too, blah, blah, blah. He was chatting me up, and he asked me what years I played here, and then asked me where I went to high school. And I said I went to Triton High School, but I went to Hargrave. And it's like a light bulb went off in his head. He said, did you get offered to Maryland? And I said, yes, sir. He said, I'm still to this day, he said, I was the special teams coordinator there, and we thought that you were already on our depth chart, and then all of a sudden, around Christmas, you called and said that you were going to walk on at East Carolina. We could not figure that one out, to this day. So, now I think that was the end of my Colts career. Was that day too? So.
Did he not understand you grew up a pirate? It was just your dream.
Yeah, I try to explain it, but some people don't understand it, I guess. But probably not the best business decision when you turn down money to walk on, but hey, man, you can't hide the loyalty. That's where my heart was at 18. Was I wanted to play football at East Carolina, so that's what I was going to do.
Absolutely, and that's what. So Wilson, you're coming in, like I started to say a minute ago, with Coach Holtz and that staff, and you had the opportunity to be part of a tremendous era. Showed a lot of progress in 2005, and then went to bowl games each of the next 3 years, and then won that conference title in 2008, which we'll get to in a minute. But one of the things that really jumped out to me about your career is, and this is something we talked about with Brandon Howard as well, with the deep snapper, you're a lot different from a quarterback or wide receiver or what have you, because those guys want their names known. If somebody knows your name, it's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the limelight of a long snapper. You're part of the team. You get to do everything, but at the end of the day, you've got one job to do, and you can't get excited or you can't get down in the dumps. If you're winning 40-0 or if you're losing 40-0, you've still got to do that one important role that nobody really recognizes, and you have to have a little different mindset to do it. But it's needed, and I'm glad it's needed, because I don't know what else I would have did on the ECU football field besides long snap the football. So I'm lucky it's still part of the game.
But in the I just have one quick follow-up from Kyle on that from 2005 to 2008, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Wilson, but I know you had 300-plus snaps when you take into account punts, PATs, field goals, and you had well over 300 without a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, there's some that I would consider bad, but they didn't really affect the play, so I guess they don't get chalked up to bad, but you got to be highly critical of yourself. So if I ever threw one below the knees or at the face mask, in my mind that was bad. But I had some good athletes that saved me too a couple times. I'll give them, Ryan Doherty and Matt Dodge could They, you know, they were basically receivers back there, so they made it look a little better than it probably was.
Now, did you start from day one at long snapper against Duke, Skip's first game?
I did for punts. Mike Yarton did the short snaps my freshman year, and did a great long snapper too. But yeah, I did punts.
So what was that like for you, that first game? You've grown up a Pirate, playing Duke, and being a part of beating an ACC school after those 2 terrible years we had?
Oh, it was frightening. It was frightening. I kind of thought I was going to maybe have a year to redshirt, and they kind of changed the scheme up, and they were looking for somebody that could block and snap, which is the college game's kind of gotten away from that now with the rules. You know, you see that spread the field formation, and the snapper pretty much snaps and releases. But I could snap and block pretty well, and I was a pretty decent athlete. So they told me about 10 days before the game that I was going to start on punt snaps, and it was like you don't get much sleep after that, and I remember the specialist group, we all went to Hooters on Thursday night before the game. That was kind of a tradition. We all went to eat on a Thursday, and we're watching Houston's playing TV, and playing on TV, and their long snapper's a true freshman as well, and he airmailed 3 on national TV, and I'm freaking out, and going, oh my God, I can't do this. And Ryan Doherty turns to me and grabs me, who's one of the best punters in the country, said, "You're not going to do that, are you?" And I went, "Well, no, man." And I think him confronting me about it kind of got me back into like game mode and ready. But yeah, I remember my first snap against Duke like it was yesterday. I snapped it. I was terrified, to block. Luckily they were in punt safe, so they didn't really rush it. And it went back there. I knew I let it go good, so I knew it was going to be a good snap. And I started running down the field, and I'm kind of taking it in probably a little too much and not playing football, but it is what it is. It's the truth. And so I'm running, and I see the Duke punt returner kind of coming at me, and I'm like, oh man, I got a chance at a tackle here, and I did not get anywhere close to him. He completely juked me out of my shoes. But this was right around the time Facebook started. There was a great picture of me approaching him that somebody had taken, media had taken, and it looks like I'm about to kill him. And so that was like my Facebook profile for like the next 5 months. It looked great. Nobody didn't need to know until now that I completely whiffed on the tackle. So
you sure that wasn't MySpace, Wilson?
No, this is right when Facebook became the thing. Now, I mean, there was nothing like it is now. It was just like who you are and who you want to poke, and that was all Facebook was. So it was good times.
Wilson, later on towards the end of your career, some of the games I really wanted to ask you about. I know, obviously you had the game winner that you snapped for the field goal in the Hawaii Bowl, where Ben Hartman knocked it in to beat Boise State, and that was the first of 3 straight wins over ranked teams. Something we'll get to here in a minute. But what are your memories of that play?
That was a good play. Ben was a great kicker. He we all go through ups and downs, but I mean, we wrote a lot of wins off of his right foot late in the games and against some big teams, and that's what I remember Ben for is being clutch in those situations. I hate that he had a situation on his last kick that against Arkansas that everybody remembers, and when it was 15 degrees and 40 mile per hour winds, but I remember him as being clutch and just we were going on that field in Hawaii to kick a field goal. We all knew it was going through. I mean, shit, everybody was celebrating before the kick, It's just, and it was just a good game. It was an even funner place to be, and being able to go to Hawaii for 8 days to play in a football game was great. But to win it and be involved in the last play of the game to win it was made kind of the icing on the cake, so to speak.
Yeah, we talked about. We talked about the Hawaii Bowl with several different players and the build up to it and all the doubt, that the ESPN prognosticators had, and 98% of the country said the Pirates were going to lose. There was some Boise State players saying they thought East Carolina was 1AA. Do you remember all that?
Oh yeah. They just came off a big win. They were the Cinderella team in the country, and And I get, they thought they were big stuff, and I tell you, I've met some Boise guys that played on that team through after college and workouts and stuff, and they're like, my God, dude, when y'all walked in, y'all were bigger than Oklahoma, at the little dinners and stuff for the bowl game. They're like, and I was like, well, yeah, our whole defensive line practically played in the NFL. We weren't little scrubs, and that's kind of during that late 2000s, mid 2000s, kind of put us on the map, was beating Boise and then going on that run the next year. But yeah, I mean, that's why you play the game. You can't listen to what you guys say. I mean, it's what goes on in that room, and if you believe in yourself, the difference in winning and losing is very, very small. And talent level, if the talent level's there, it's if you're going to do those little things the right way. And with Coach Holtz coming in, as I hope is going to happen with Mike Houston, they taught us and they harped on those things to a T. I mean, it was too important to touch the line and do everything that they said to do, and I think it reflected in turning around the program.
So you talk about those 3 straight wins over ranked teams. You close out the 2007 season with that win over Boise State in the Hawaii Bowl, and then you start things off in 2008 playing Virginia Tech down in Charlotte. I guess it was Bank of America Stadium by then, and so knock off the Hokies on the last-minute block punt and scoop and score by T.J. Lee, and then the next week we really put a smack down. To put it in the words of Vince McMahon, at Dowdy Ficklin against West Virginia, who was ranked 8th at the time, 24-3.
Right. That was a great stretch. We obviously the block punt by TJ was huge, but we would have won that game without it. We were going to drive the field and beat them. I mean, I think we were better. I think if we played them 10 times, we would beat them a whole lot more than they beat us. That's my personal belief in it. And same thing goes with West Virginia. I think we're just a better team. I mean, we had a lot of injuries that year that came up and kind of slowed us down. But we were strong at that point. I thought really at the beginning of the year we could have competed against anybody in the country. Absolutely.
There's no doubt we could have. And like you said, that day against the Hokies in Charlotte, to be honest, it really probably shouldn't even been that close. There were some things that had taken place earlier in that ball game that we were able to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. But it was probably one of the, that was a great atmosphere, probably one of the best ones we've been involved, kind of a neutral site. A lot of hype surrounding the game in Greenville and outside of it. We knew we had a good team, and we were playing a traditional power, and kind of a big marquee ESPN game. It was fun. It was hot. I remember how hot it was.
Oh yeah.
But it was fun to come out of there with a win. I mean, it kind of catapulted us, put us on the national scene, and those those things. There's things that you'll never forget, but those big moments you definitely take with you. As you grow older and kind of cherish them. In the moments you don't get to really celebrate it too much because it's on to the next one, and it's you got just a lot more stuff going on. But looking back, you realize how really great that was. How miraculous of a play that T.J. Lee's block was. I mean, that's just kind of that's instilled in Pirate memories forever. I mean, it won't never go anywhere. So it'll always be there, and it's cool to have been a part of that down there and kind of witnessed it.
On Donnie K and Steve Shankweiler coming back.
Oh, love it. Love both coaches. They're both great guys. I've kept up with both of them over the years, and I'm excited to see them. Excited to see people that know what Greenville's about coming back. Excited to have their work ethic on the recruiting trail, on the practice field. I mean, they're going to give everything they got to the program because they love it, and it's a blessing to have them back, and I think they're going to do a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. How close have you stayed with the program? You seem like you're you're pretty up on what's going on. Have you stayed pretty close with the program over the years, or?
Yeah, we try to go to most home games if we can. Kids take over your life, but I've always enjoyed going. It's a good family. It's a good bonding experience, I don't mean this in the wrong way, but I don't care if they win or lose. I just enjoy being there and supporting them and having a good time. So that it's a lot funner if they're winning, but it's not going to deter me from going if they're not. So, having that kind of mindset, I guess it means I've been close to the program because I didn't abandon it because they're 3-8. So, I've kept a good eye on it, and I think we got the guys in place that are going to turn it around and seem passionate to do so. So I'm pulling for them hard.
But Wilson, we talked about that memorable 3-game stretch with Boise State, Virginia Tech, and West Virginia. But after rising to 14th in the polls early in that 2008 season, we had some things go against us. We really had a lot of injuries. I remember looking at the injury report that season, but we still managed to do what we needed to do to win Conference USA, which said a lot about where our program had come. So what are some of your top memories from that season in addition to the ones we've already talked about?
No, I mean, that season was just a reflection of life, man. I mean, we started out so hot and so many positives, and then went through so many negatives. I mean, we lost some key people that nobody should be able to overcome. When you lose a Quentin Cotton or a Stanley Bryan, I mean, the list goes on and on. I think we started a total of 44 different people on offense and defense that year out of 22 spots. There was 44 different names in the starting lineup that year. That's just ridiculous. That's just one injury after another. But to be able to bounce back and win the conference and put a great year together, going through that's a testament to the program that Coach Holtz had built and his staff had built, and having young players be able to step up, having people that shouldn't be on the field actually get on the field and perform. And that's important, and that's kind of the team. That's when you know that your team's good, is when that number 2 guy might not be as good as the number 1 guy, but they're going to be adequate. They're going to be able to perform or compete at a high level, and I think that's what we showed that year. It was just an up and down year, but in the end, that was a big goal of ours, was that conference championship, and it wasn't an easy one to obtain because there were some good teams in the conference at that time, and come out a winner was just a great time for us all.
So Wilson, you talked about the nerves you had in your first game against Duke in 2005. You had the opportunity to play in some tremendous venues. And I know you played at West Virginia twice, and you also played at Virginia Tech and others. So what were some of the venues that you really had in your memory? Some of the experiences and stories you may be able to share with us.
Yeah, I mean, really, as far as like the feeling and the crowd and everything, I mean, I remember the ones that sucked more than I remember the ones that were good. When you
UAB.
No disrespect to these people. I mean, UAB recruited me, but yeah, the UABs and the Rice, I remember those. That was worse than going to practice sometimes. But and it's part of playing at East Carolina and being in that conference at that time. We felt like our stadium and our fans and our excitement and our atmosphere was as good as anywhere else we played. They're just cheering against us at the other places. So, playing in Greenville and Dowdy-Ficklin, was no different than playing at Virginia Tech and Lang Stadium or any of those other places because we were used to that roar. It was just weird when you went and played at UAB or Tulane after playing at East Carolina and Charlotte or Virginia Tech, and then going to Tulane and being like, where is everybody? That was always what I remembered was being weird. But the great atmospheres that to me were no better than ours. I would put ours up against anybody at that time.
What was the best road atmosphere or the toughest in terms of fan support in Conference USA at the time? Southern Miss or Marshall?
Yeah, I'd say at the time Southern Miss probably. They were pretty good at that time, and they cared about it. Their stadium wasn't as big as ours, but they were passionate. They wanted to win. But honestly, there was no comparison to anybody in Conference USA to us. If you're wanting to compare, we were the cream of the crop as far as atmosphere and fan base goes. It still isn't close, But at that time, I'd say probably Southern Miss. Tulsa was different, too, because they were pretty good at that time. We always had a hard time with them, and they play in a little, I don't want to talk bad about people, a little crappy stadium, and but they're right on top of you. So, like, instead of hearing a roar, you got to hear people heckling you, but more so, it was just annoying there. But it was just a different. Everybody's different, and I was just thankful that I got to play in front of our crowd 6 times a year.
That's a good thing. In 2008, in that Conference USA Championship game at Tulsa, we forced 7 turnovers, so that probably toned them down a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. That was unbelievable. But and they had a good team at that time, and we, that was one thing that about our team is we scrapped. If we needed a block punt, if we needed a blocked field goal return for a touchdown, if we needed an interception, if we got to the end of the game and we were competitive, we were typically going to win it, because we believed in ourselves and we're taught to go as hard as you could go the whole game and let the chips fall. So it was a good mentality, and it treated us well.
Wilson, one of the things I wanted to ask you about before we move on and talk about your time after ECU and what you're up to now is I really wanted to ask you, for our listeners who may not know as much about it, talk about some of the things that you guys really emphasize in practice in terms of the snapping and the get-off times, the total operation times, and things of that nature. Give them an idea of where those times need to be in order to not get kicks blocked. Excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, now we're getting down to the boring stuff of football, talking about get-off times for punts. But it's important. I mean, repetition's key with any specialist. So, you want to be able to. There's no different doing it in my backyard than doing it in front of 50,000 at Dowdy-Ficklin. It's got to be the same every time, and that's where it's different to being a player. You can't feed off of the energy, or if you do that type of stuff, you're gonna mess it up. So, snap, hold, and kicks, and every punch, you typically want to get it off in less than 2 seconds. So that equates to a snap of 0.8 seconds or less, and a catch and kick for the punter at 1.2 seconds. And typically, if you don't do that and they're rushing it, they're going to block it. They're going to get there. You can't block but so long in those situations when they have their ears peeled back. But it's important, and then you work on it and you get hounded by it. And Coach Holtz or special teams coordinator's got a stopwatch in your ear every single snap of practice, and they're letting you know if you're not meeting those times. And the depth of it goes a lot. There's a lot more depth to it the higher level ball you play, but it's imperative and it's important. It's such a big part of the game that people don't realize the special teams. I mean, the flipping of the fields. I mean, if you get a punt block in a college football game, 90% of the times you lose. You lose if you get one punt block 90% of the times in college football. So it's such a little part of the game from a visual aspect or a fan aspect, but it's such a keep a coach awake at night aspect if you don't have the people that can perform those job duties. It's important.
So after your time at East Carolina, you had a chance to play with the Jets in 2011?
Yeah. I tore my knee in the Liberty Bowl my senior year. I tore my PCL and MCL, and that put a wrench in my post-playing career probably. But luckily I was lucky enough to get back in shape. I had a few scouts still talking to me, asking me if I was still going to play. And with Matt Dodge being such a big commodity at that time, you know, with the draft coming up, people love, you know, he's one of the top punters in the country. It kind of opened my, I hate to say recruitment, but my scouting back up to people going, oh yeah, I remember that guy, you know. And so I bounced around a little bit, and you know, played in the preseason with New York, and you know, I had a few workouts and mini camp invites and stuff like that with UFL and the NFL, and you know, never got signed long enough to play in a regular season game or anything like that, but I've got to taste it a little bit, and it was fun to get on the field and say I played in the NFL for a little bit. I never thought I would have said those words, but I guess I can say it now, even though it's been there, done that. All I got was the T-shirt, but it was a good experience.
Hey, most people don't get that.
Oh yeah, I'll take it to my grave. It was fun, but it's a tough job when there's one guy per 32 teams. You know, yeah. There's 32 long snappers that get a job, and if you do a good job, they're not going to fire you. You know, the only reason you get fired as a long snapper is if you screw up, or if they're paying you way too much money because you got so much longevity. So it's really hard to find the right team to sign with, you know, because you're trying to figure out, you know, is this team going to keep their guy, or if they're not, and then you go to or you hold out for this next team and it doesn't work out. So it's a tough job to get, but I was just proud of myself to even just be considered for it. So it was a fun little post ECU career of just being in that game and getting to go and work out with some of the best in the world. So it was cool.
You mentioned the UFL. Who did you play with in that defunct league?
I did not play with anybody. I worked out with every team, and the year that I signed with the Jets, I had a good indication I was going to play for the Omaha Nighthawks, but I chose, obviously, to chase the NFL than the UFL. The next year, I was still unsigned going into camp time, and I was going to play either for the Las Vegas Locos or I think Sacramento Lions or something. I can't remember. But then I got wind from some friends of mine that were in the league that they were having serious financial issues, and it was going to be week to week, so I just decided not to even do it. And I think by week 3 of the season, they dismantled the league that year, so it was probably a good move.
Wilson, one of the things I wanted to ask you about in addition to football is I know obviously baseball's such a big thing at East Carolina, and I know you're heavily involved in baseball now in the role of an umpire, and that's something that you actually had the opportunity to, I guess, be a part of indirectly through your dad doing it for years and years. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I got into umpiring because my dad enjoyed it, and I saw how much he enjoyed it. And in college, I started calling in the spring some high school or middle school games, little league games. Really, it's a great way to make a little extra cash as a college student. It was, you know, it beat waiting tables, or it beat, you know, doing some other things you can do while being a know-nothing college student. But and it was fun, so I enjoyed doing it. And so as I started taking it more seriously, you know, my career grew, and I'm, you know, I do ACC and Conference USA and CAA baseball now in college, and love it. It's a great time. It's, you know, it keeps me around the locker room feel. It keeps me around sports. Keeps me competitive. You know, all the reasons I played sports, I think, are all the same reasons that I enjoy officiating it.
That's what. Obviously, you're still hit. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I had a bit of an echo there for a moment. I just want to make sure you're finished. But obviously, you're still heavily involved. So I know there's a lot of things you wouldn't have any business sharing. But any funny stories from your years of umpiring that you could share on the air?
Man, you know, it all runs together. But the big thing is, you know, people ask about interviewing umpires and stuff, and they think our bosses are going to be mad. You know, our assigners and our bosses, you know, they beg us to take interviews and stuff, not to speak specifically about plays of games or, you know, stuff like that, but they do want to show the human aspect of officiating. And one of the reasons is because it's so needed. And you know, we want to grow as officials. We want to grow in sports. We got to keep more officials coming in. But as far as stories, there's too many to even try to start. I mean, it's, you know, the change of the game, going to replays and stuff. It's been kind of fun to be a part of it. You know, we had instant replay basically like Major League Baseball did this year in some of the bigger leagues, the ACCs and SECs, and had it for all the NCAA tournaments. So it's fun how that's changed, you know, the argumentative approach of a manager with an umpire, or that relationship during a game that has replay and one that doesn't. And if you're looking at a story, I had 2 replays overturned this year, and I was working Clemson and Boston College, and I had a play at first base, and Boston College had a guy on first and second with 1 out or no outs. They went to turn a double play, and the guy at second went to third, and I whacked the guy out at first base for a double play. So situation is we've got a guy at third now with 2 outs. And so the coach said, look, I'm going to challenge this play because I got a guy at third now. And I can score him a lot easier if I got a guy at third with 1 out as opposed to 2. So long story short, you know, my partners go to the replay, and I'm standing there with the first base coach, and he goes, Wilson, do you think you got this right? I said, man, it was close. I said, but yeah, I don't have anything to tell me otherwise. And then the runner said, yeah, I was out. And then the first baseman goes, yeah, man, yeah, we beat you on that one. And so 4 of us completely had an out. My partners come out with a save. And so, you know, you just never know. And that kind of banter or kind of having fun with it would never have happened without replay. So it's kind of changed the whole aspect of how we handle situations now. But it's also brought some good, I guess, umpire, player, coach relationships into the game as well.
What are your thoughts on Cliff Godwin? Have you had a chance to interact with him much?
Yeah, I think he's a great coach. I think he's done a great job with the program. I wish him the best of luck. You know, he wants to win. He's very energetic, very passionate. You know, and that, you know, you got to respect a guy like that. That's what you want. Even if he's cussing at me, you know, you have to respect that. I mean, that's part of the job, and I think he's going to do a good job. He's done a great job, and I think he's going to continue to, given the resources and stuff that he's getting behind the program. And yeah, I'm glad ECU's got him, and I'm glad he's got ECU.
Have you done any East Carolina games?
Yeah, I do a few a year, non-conference games.
Gotcha.
Not too many, because just pretty much if I have a vacancy on my schedule for non-conference and the non-conference assigner wants to use me, then I'll do a game or 2 over there every year. So, and it's fun. It's fun to go out there and get heckled, and it's fun. Every once in a while there's fans that'll know who I am, and they'll call me traitor, and it's all in good fun. You know, it's a fun place to go officiate a game. You know. Absolutely.
Well, Wilson, thank you for coming on, man. It's good to hear you doing so well, and hope to see you at some games this fall.
Yeah, man, ready to go check them out. See what they can put on the field this year. I think they're gonna. I know they're working hard right now, and I think Houston's the guy. So let's ride them.
Let's do it. Thank you, Wilson.
Y'all have a good one.
That concludes this edition of 50 Pirates in 50 Days on the Sports Objective. Remember, join us daily between now and game day as we'll talk Pirate football with players from various eras. All these interviews are available exclusively on SoundCloud and our YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe and follow so you're alerted when we post new content. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, go Pirates!